Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the National Ice Hockey League, the league we love and enjoy. Charlie, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. We got 4 points, and I'm a happy chappy.
Yeah, not too bad. Dan isn't with us, like actually us two, but I did have a little interview with Dan or asked him a few questions, which I'll edit into this as well. And we've also got a special interview with future Raiders star, or he's currently a star right now. He scored a couple goals. Brynley Capps, 16-year-old. He's tearing it up in the NIHL too, isn't he, Charlie? It will be nice to have him on, won't it?
Not just no, the NIHL won.
Oh, sorry,
Credit where
NIHL one.
credit's due
Sorry, my
there.
bad.
I think he's the top goal scorer there, so he's got a cannon of a shot on him for a 16-year-old. So yeah, it'd be cool to have him on and one to watch out for when you play Raiders this year.
Yeah.
NIHL fan.
Yeah, he's playing regular first team minutes now, and he scored a couple goals, a couple snipes. We put one on our story the other day, so we're interviewing him tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed, and that'll be in this episode. But I wanted to start with some news coming this morning. The Colorado Avalanche player, NHL player Nathan MacKinnon, arguably top three, or top five. What would you say? Top three players in the
Top three,
world
top three. Yeah.
wants to play in London. Whether that's for a global series, but yeah, that'll be great for the Raiders because they are currently looking for an import, Charlie.
Yeah. I was thinking about this, and obviously McKinnon's been tearing up the NHL. He's been scoring hundreds of points. Bit easy. He's already won the Stanley Cup. So he thought, I really need to challenge myself. So I want to play against Malazinski, the best player in the world. So yeah, that's the rumor I've heard. I don't know about you guys. I've seen a lot going on Twitter, but yeah, he needs some proper challenge. So he's coming over
Yeah.
to the National League.
But on a real, he did talk about having like a global series in London because the last one they did, I think, was 2007. Now the arena, well, he said he wants to do it in London, but if they're going to have one in England, the arena I'd probably look at possibly Sheffield, Charlie, maybe Nottingham. Are those the two biggest arenas in England which they could have them at?
I think we should do it at the link. Um, I think get him down the boys, get him on the ice with Nally and Malas, and we can have some fun. Now, I'd probably do Sheffield.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. It would be good if they really wanted to do something cool. And they wanted to do a 4 game series where you do a game each night.
Yeah,
I'd
Thursday
love
to
them.
Sunday.
I'd love them to do something at like the O2, like get an ice
Oh
rink
wow.
there, find a way,
Yeah.
get a temporary rink up or something. Let's get hockey a big name, a big event for fans to check it out, and I would buy all 4 tickets.
Oh
So
yeah. We're thinking about
that would
going
be
to the
great.
global series next year if it's in like Germany, Finland, wherever. So if it was in London, that would be absolutely nuts. And MacKinnon said he wants to be a part of that. So yeah, let us know in the comments. At us on our social medias, Macca's Talk Hockey. Let us know what you think of that. I wanted to move back to our league though. Oh well, not actually the NIHL. It's the NIHL one and the drama that happened on Saturday between Streatham and Invicta. Now, the news has come out today. The guy who originally started it, I guess, the slashing, has been released from Invicta. So quite a bold move by Invicta. Did you see that coming after what happened?
Yeah, I like the move from Invicta. I think it's a good move, and I wanted to mention this because I
Yeah.
want to set how I
Well, I
look
want
at
to
it.
see how you're.
Um, that isn't hockey.
No.
Um, that is pub fighting. It's not for me. You can tell me I don't mind a fair drop the gloves fight. I'm fine for that. And some people will call that hockey. Well, look at the top leagues in the world, and you never see anything like that.
No.
You rarely will see a bench clearance in the NHL, but something like that is just a man brawl.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why I think English ice hockey isn't seen as quite as professional as it should be.
Mm.
It isn't seen as well, especially the National One League isn't seen as quite as good as it could be because it seems like a couple players maybe want to fight a bit more than they want to play, and they wait for opportunities like that. And for me, I don't want young players playing in that league when stuff like that can happen because you want your young players to feel safe, you want them to develop. And what the guy did was wrong, and he deserved to get punished in some sort of way, maybe dropping the gloves, etc. But it didn't mean that random people had to get hit and everyone had to start fighting. I'm not
Yeah.
a huge fan of bench clearances and stuff anyway. So.
Yeah, it just seemed, and I mentioned this with Dan because I asked him about it, and we'll hear what he says in a minute when I cut to it. But I asked him and he said, as you said, the youngsters are on the ice. They're not going to develop when stuff like that. The game's been called off after the first period. Like, it's silly. And they've had one fight and then everyone just barges in and they bundle on top of each other. That's not ice hockey. Like, that isn't ice hockey. I know there's so many people on Twitter, and Jamie Macca is a big one who's into all the fighting and stuff. But I do have to say I disagree with him. I know a lot of people like the scraps, but I prefer a rough game like Sunday night against Phantoms, where it was quite a good physical game and nothing really went over the top. I know the handshakes at the end was a bit petty and they didn't end up handshaking, but actually in the game, nothing really petty happened. There wasn't even actually a fight in that game. But we've seen some brawls in the NIHL back in the days, and I've gone, wow, it's just a bit silly, especially the playoff one with Sheffield last year. I thought that was silly, and we called that out, didn't we? We called that out and said it was silly. But this one just felt like you had Miles dragging a cage boy down, a 17-year-old down onto the ice, and I'm like, that's not ice hockey, man. That's not ice hockey. And
my favorite example, and for me, this is how hockey is best sorted out, is JT Miller recently in the NHL did a hit on Rasmus Dahlin, and it was actually a fair hit, but let's say it was a bad hit for sake. He instantly had to fight a player. He dropped the gloves of that player, fought the guy, beat the guy up, but that don't matter. Then he got out the box, and they were still fuming at him. He fought another player, and I think that's the right way to sort out in hockey if you want to go down the fighting route. Is fight so that the other team, so you pay the price for what you're doing. You have to drop the gloves of someone, but you also earn the respect from the other team of the fact that you did drop the gloves and you respect the fact that you were being a bit of a pug. And I get fighting. I get the point of it. It means that the players can sort out the problems on the ice rather than it overboiling and you get huge hits which cause injury. I totally get the fighting meaning. But when it goes like that and a game has to be cancelled because players don't feel safe, there is something to look into there, because Invicta wouldn't just cancel the game for the sake of it. They genuinely didn't feel like they wanted to play again. Like that's where I think it steps over the bar and it gets worrying when they're going on the ice thinking, I don't feel safe.
And what's your take on jumping? Because for me, and when I say jumping, where you just jump a player. Now, for me, if you just jump a player who's willingly said he's not going to fight or is willingly not looking like he's going to fight, I think that's stupid. You should get kicked out straight away. Now, Saturday was a bit of an exception because obviously he slashed Pitchley quite high up and then he got jumped, which is kind of fair enough because he's kind of gone, I'm going to do that, and he's expected no one to come in. So that's fair enough. But then the jumping of when a fight's just happened and then someone else just comes in and takes you out from nowhere, I don't like that in hockey. For me, I don't like that. I know other people like that, but I think that's stupid. I think a lot of coaches in the league and a lot of high-end top players would agree with us. Do you think, Charlie?
Well, it's something which is looked down upon. You shouldn't be jumping people, and it is shown. Like you don't grab a random person who doesn't want to fight and jump them. No. If they've done something to integrate you beating them up, you can get it, like slashing someone in the head, etc. Doing something really dangerous, you can get it. But in terms of just jumping at someone for no reason, you see it every now and again in hockey, and you just think, why are you doing that? Like, it's not ice hockey.
Gretton
to watch it.
Gretton kind of jumped Colby. He didn't just absolutely terrorize him, but he jumped him, pulled him to the ground, gave him a little face wash, all of that. He got his 2+2, and Colby didn't get anything. I think that's the fair way to do it. And Charlie Thompson did it couple months ago to Jay Warren. He got his match penalty for it, and I think that's fair enough. I don't like it personally. So that's our take. I'll cut to what Dan says about it now. But yeah, Dan, how are you feeling today? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. A good weekend of hockey. We watched two very, very good games, the Peterborough one especially. But firstly, I wanted to ask about the Streatham situation. And obviously, I'm going to talk about it with Charlie as well. But it broke out and it's in the league below. And we talked about it, the hockey, didn't we? We just said it. It just felt like a bit of a mess. That's not ice hockey. That is not ice hockey. And don't get me wrong, the slash is stupid, right? The slash is stupid, and that guy deserves to have a fight with someone else. Someone needs to step in, and they did. And then it just went overboard, didn't it? It just turned into like a bit of a pub kind of scene, didn't it?
Yeah, you just had players there that was sort of went across the line. They were just sort of looking. They were just sort of looking for the fights. And yeah, I mean, you only need that one guy to just sort of step in. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's when you had that one guy that stepped in at the fight, and then you've got people literally waiting there to jump on him when he's on the floor,
Yeah.
and it's like
it was terrible, wasn't it? It was literally someone gets beaten to the ground, right? And then it just become like WWE, but actually real, didn't it? They all just come jumping on top of each other.
Yeah, literally, they just saw they just saw the time to do it, and they just went for it straight away. But the fact that that's like a development league for the young players is a bit worrying, really, because obviously that game obviously got like ended after the first period, and I know it's only little things, but that's 2 less periods that them young players would have got, and it's like.
And 2 less periods which the fans have paid for, which the away fans have travelled up for. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, and the thing is that, and crowds in that league, I'm not really sure on them, but I don't think they're that big. So like they want to keep the fans coming back. I don't know if fans will probably be into that sort of thing, but you sort of want to see a bit of hockey as well.
And obviously there was loads of stuff on Twitter, and I know Jamie Mcrae is a big advocate for fighting. And we are as well. We said we don't mind a fight as long as it's a respectful fight. Both of them come together to try and build momentum for your team. There's a time and a place to do it. And I think there was after the slashing. But then you got Brandon Miles giving it the big one on Twitter. Now, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I see him yank a little 17-year-old. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, he might have a cage and he's over 17 or over 18. He just yanks him to the ground. I don't know what that's for, but I'm sorry, if someone did that to Dylan Lipsey or Alfie Druitt on our team, that's obviously going to start stuff, and then everything just boiled over. And I just think that's the kind of stuff which blows up on Twitter because it gives English hockey kind of a bit of a bad rep. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it always seems to be that league as well. You always see stuff like bands and stuff being thrown in for like sucker punches and stuff like that. And it's just like you wonder what's going on in that league.
Yeah, and I think I'll mention it with Charlie, but we've spoke to a few National League players, and I won't name them, but they've literally said to us like they don't want to play in that league, like because we know players, and as I said, I'm not going to name them, but have gone down to that league and they don't want to play in it because it is a pub league. And the player which we know the most who said that, he's a fighter in himself. He's a fighter himself. He's had a lot of fights, and he still didn't even want to play in that league because of the stuff that happens, that kind of stuff. And yeah, obviously we watch the National League a lot, and we don't watch that league week in, week out. I know there is probably some really, really good games, and there's some good level of hockey in there, but it just takes one little moment to give hockey a bit of a bad rep for fighting. I think it gives hockey a different image to what it actually is. I think hockey's an amazing sport, Dan. We all do.
Well, yeah, because like you say, obviously we've watched them the past 2 years at the Coventry, obviously playoff weekend, and them games have been unreal. Like they've been so good.
Yeah.
And you see them games, thinking like, what's happening in the season? Like you never see anything like that in the playoffs, and obviously it's like playoffs can get a bit like fiery because obviously everyone's so fired up and sort of want to gain momentum for your team and stuff like that. So it's just one of them things. It might just be like because we only see it on Twitter, it might just be something that we just think, oh yeah, it must be in every game.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's...
Yeah. So me and Dan have had to hop back because Hull have just announced their new import. This morning they announced that Bobby Young was leaving the Seahawks, and they've actually brought in Owen Sobchak, who got released by the Bristol Pitbulls. Firstly, Bobby Young, were you surprised at Bristol letting him go? No, sorry, not Bristol. Hull letting him go?
I wasn't. I've seen him play... Yeah, I've seen him play twice this season. Obviously, I know that's not a lot of games, but from looking at his track record and elite prospects and stuff like that in the other leagues, and like other people have said on Twitter, I don't think it's been enough for this NIHL standard of imports. But some of the imports that have come in this season have been unreal, same as last season as well, and just carried over. So I think when you pick an import these days, it has to be a good one, and you can't afford to be paying those imports money if they're not going to produce.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt there's some sort of player in him. I saw him as quite a good two-way player, but in this league, you need point scorers, especially in that whole team as well. When they need them big moments, they need some players step up, and they brought in Owen Sobchak. and he was a good point scorer for Bristol. He scored a lot of goals despite how small he is. Do you rate that signing? Obviously, we'll go into the stuff in the minute of him leaving Bristol, but what did you think when you first heard about that signing?
I think it's a good signing. I think it's a really smart move to sign someone that's already played in the league. Yeah. Obviously, you're not got that thing of having a risk of this player never playing in England before. He knows what the league is. He knows the teams he's coming up against. He'll know the players. It's sort of like just the same guy, just in a different team. He should just slot right in. I think he'll be good for that whole team, to be honest.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't really know too much what happened, but it seems like he fell out a bit with the Bristol lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing that first game, Bristol against Hull. I have no doubts he'll probably get a goal and give a celly as well up in Bristol. But yeah, that'll be a big one. I got to say, I think it was a decent little signing. Like you said, it's someone who knows the league, who knows the players in the league, and was a proven point scorer as well. You haven't got that risk, like you said, of bringing someone in and, like Bobby, maybe just not quite getting those points. And it seems like as well, he's going to be able to help those players around him. I think Bobby Chamberlain, Bono, who's not been quite up to what I think he has, what his potential can be. So I think if you stick him on a line with them, he's definitely going to be able to get him a lot of points. And yeah, could push him for a cup run because he's come in before that Leeds game, which is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I assume that's going to obviously be his debut in the
probably.
cup game.
Unless it's no, because they don't play this week actually. The cup game. I think their cup game's next week, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it was the same day, wasn't it?
Oh, it might. It might be. I might be tripping. Okay, I'm not sure then, but yeah, that could be his first game then.
If it is, I'm sure he'll be fired up for that. Obviously, you never really got a chance to do that for Bristol, and I'm sure he's going to be loving the cup games. And I'm sure that whole team will be getting fired up for that too, because the players that they've got are such big game players. Yeah. And they'll definitely be up for that.
If I'm Leeds as well, I'd be a bit. They got the player coming in and new vibes. They've just beaten MK as well, so that's definitely going to be a humdinger. I think the whole fans will like it as well. I think Hull are this kind of team who like a bit of that edgy kind of stuff, the bit of fight, the bit of I mean, on the edge. You've got Barmer, you've got Chamberlain, you've got Bonner, and you're adding Sobchak to that as well. So I think he's going to do well. Let us know in the comments if you think he's going to be that impact signing, and he's going to be able to play in the playoffs as well, which he didn't get to do at Bristol last year.
Yeah, I think seeing Sobchak on this whole team, I think we'll see a totally different player. I think in Bristol he was sort of held back a bit last season. I think you didn't really see the full Owen Sobchak that everyone knows he can play like.
Yeah.
So I think putting him on some better lines, putting him with some better players, I think you're going to really see a top Owen Sobchak.
Yeah, and he played straight after he left Bristol as well. He signed with the team, so it's not like he's gone away from hockey and he's just coming back. He's going to be ready because he was with the team before he signed for Hull. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, I can't wait for that Bristol Hull game. That's going to be a cracker. I think it's going to be a few checks going in that game. So yeah. Riley Mcrae has left the Raiders. That was the one that I've missed out. So Raiders, as I said at the start, they're looking for a new import, and it's just been a bit of a roller coaster season for them, getting imports, having a full squad, hasn't it? They've never really been able to have 3 imports at the same time playing for a long period of time, have they?
No, they haven't had the imports for a while. They've been quite unlucky this year. Yeah. A lot of them have been personal reasons. So we hope Riley Mcrae's all right because he's had to go home. And he had his best game of the season from what I believe against Swindon. He played really well and he got 2 goals against us.
Yeah.
And he was very good on the power play. So yeah, again, another miss for Raiders. It's frustrating for them.
Because, they're in a playoff spot though. They've done well battling from what their form was at the start of the season. I think we'll talk a bit about that with Brynley.
They came back from obviously making Coventry, and they probably wanted to build on that, and they haven't quite been able to do that. But it hasn't helped that their import D wouldn't come in, and then they had another import leave. Now they've had another one leave, and now it's just trying to get that consistent rhythm with them because they've had a lot of injuries and stuff like that. So for Raiders, I think just keep pushing, get that playoffs, and hopefully bring in a new guy, I guess.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back. We've got another player joining us for an interview. Raiders ice hockey player Brynley Capps. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how have you found it stepping up to the National League?
Yeah, it's been quite a challenge. Like the level, the speed, the quickness, it's just, it's all up. It's like the jump from NIHL 1, even like 18s to NIHL 1, and then NIHL 1 to national was pretty big jump, to be fair. So
yeah,
when,
when you started the season, obviously you started with the Raiders Buccaneers? Is that their name?
Yeah, Romford Buccaneers.
Romford Buccaneers, sorry. Did you expect to be playing for the Raiders like team in the National League?
Yeah, so when we sort of signed, it was a two-way deal, but we got told like you'll be training with us, but I can't guarantee you'll be getting played and be getting minutes. So obviously recently we've started getting played a bit more, getting minutes, and it's worked out all right.
When did you get the call that you'd be playing your first game in the National League?
It's quite funny. So we played in NIHL 1, we had Champs at Invicta, a double header weekend.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's sort of my breakout weekend. I think I got 9 points that weekend, 2 hat tricks.
As you do.
The next weekend we had like a weekend off. So Sean was like you're playing with us, you and Joe. I think it was against Swindon actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a good sort of feeling. I only got a couple of shifts, but best feeling.
Yeah, and you've managed to pick up a couple goals recently. Talk us through it, because the one we put on our story, it was a nice little snipe into the top corner, especially for such a young lad like yourself.
Yeah, I didn't expect it, to be fair. Sort of the puck just come free. I just skated onto it, shot. Normally, I'm a 5-0 sort of guy. That's what I did with my first goal. That's what I did in NIHL 1. But I just thought top corner this time, put it up there, and I was well happy.
Did you have any sellies planned when it went in?
I was pretty shocked, to be fair, at that one when it went in. Like my first goal on the video, you can see a pretty hard selly, but that one I think I just put my arms in the air and probably shouted, to be fair.
Go on, Dan.
Yeah, so when you say you moved up from the Buccaneers to the Raiders, how does it feel to be playing with sort of the kind of players that Raiders have? So like your Connollys and your Jacksons, the players that have been around the game for a long time. They've won a lot of trophies, got lots of experience. So you feel like you've sort of had, it's helped you a lot to play?
Yeah, definitely. Like Ash Jackson, Aaron Connolly, their mindsets are probably top level. There's not really many better people you can sort of learn from. And then obviously we've got the imports, Coy and Leish. They're a joke, as pretty much everyone knows around the league. So you're just learning off of them. And then you got Jacob Ransom, who you had on before.
Yeah,
he's a really good. Yeah, he's a really good guy for someone like me and Joe to go to. Just great with us.
Yeah. Obviously you came into the team. What were your expectations coming into the team? Was it just to get a few shifts, or were you confident you could go out and bag a few goals?
I just wanted one. That's what I wanted at the start of the season. I was like, just one goal, but
get the ball rolling.
I was sort of just happy to be there, just get the experience under my belt, sort of thing. If that's getting on the ice or just sitting there on the bench and waiting my turn, is what it is.
Do you think it's helped? Obviously, no disrespect to the NIHL 1, but do you think it's really helped your development, getting that opportunity at 16 to play in the top national league and, as you said, playing alongside some of those experienced players? Do you think that helps development a lot?
Yeah, definitely. So with the NIHL 1, I think it's a good league for, say, me and Joe as 16-year-olds. It's a good league to test ourselves, but also to gain confidence by putting out points. And then when we're going up to the National League, that's a good challenge league. So that tests us in that aspect as well.
Yeah, good enough.
So in the NIHL 1, obviously, it is still quite a physical league, but what do you feel like you've had to improve on when you've played against teams in the NIHL, like playing against different D-men, more experienced D-men? What do you sort of have to work on to sort of get around them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question. But I don't really know. They're obviously a lot more physical. So I think, going from 18s last season, we weren't, I would say, not the best team. So it was pretty much down to a couple of us to just skate it. Whereas now playing NIHL 1, you have other line mates, obviously, you got to move the puck. And that's just sort of the best way, obviously, to get around people, move the puck, make passes. So getting into space and options.
Has there been any players you've come across in the league so far you've been like, wow, this is tough. I'm a bit nervous to go out and play against them?
My first game was against Streatham, so
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, oh, brilliant. And then I think we only lost 4-2, so it wasn't that bad. But sort of after that, you play a couple shifts and then you sort of settle down. So no, it's not been that bad.
Yeah. And obviously you're a regular in the Raiders team now. You're getting called up quite a lot to play the first team. What have you made of the season so far? Because it's been actually a really tough time for the Raiders. Obviously, getting
Yeah.
players gone, the imports have come back, but they seem to kind of be picking it up a bit now. You're getting those lines secured. How's it been from a Raiders player perspective?
I don't think it's been too bad of a season. Obviously, they wanted to build off of last season and whatever, but like there's definitely room for improvement. I think we all know that sort of thing. So like we've just been unlucky with players leaving, players getting injured, illnesses, like players in and out of the lineup with other commitments. So we've just been unlucky in that sort of aspect. But once everyone's back, I'm sure we'll be fine in the playoffs.
Yeah, hopefully you get that new import as well come in and he can help out the team a lot as well. Dan, go on.
Yeah, so obviously I've mentioned it earlier, but going back to Connolly in particular, obviously being a Bison fan myself, I've seen Connolly throughout a lot of seasons with Bison, and we've won a lot of trophies with him. What was he like as a captain? Did you always see him before the games in Basingstoke? He was barking at the players, always pumped everyone up. Is he still like that for Raiders as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like he's the best captain I've had by a mile. I haven't had many, but I think it'll be hard to beat him as a captain, to be honest. Like he's sort of a guy for me personally that I really want to build like my personality in hockey around and sort of have that leadership and gain from him, sort of thing.
Yeah, has there been any players? Obviously, there's loads of good players for the Raiders. They've got a lot of talent. Has there been any you've come in train? You're like, wow, he is nuts.
Yeah, I think everyone knows, but Leish is just he's a joke. Adam Leishram is, I'd say he's probably the best player in the league, to be honest. Like
Really?
Honestly, he's a joke. Like if you're with him in training, you're like, yeah, we're scoring here, or if you're against him, you're like, oh, I'm ruined.
And he's not the biggest of lads either, but he kind of uses his size really well, and he's the top scorer for Raiders by quite a chunk as well.
Yeah, you rarely see him get knocked off the park. That's sort of something I want to add to my game, sort of that physicality side, that sort of lower body strength sort of thing. So yeah, definitely Leish.
For those who don't really know much about you, because it's your first season, your come up season, how would you describe yourself as a player? And is there any players you kind of look up to, whether that's in our league or the NHL, if you watch the NHL?
Yeah, so I'm like a massive Sidney Crosby fan. I've met him a few times. Like,
have you?
I went on his hockey camp sort of thing when I was
younger.
Oh,
nice.
Oh. Yeah, massive Sidney Crosby fan. So sort of wanted to build my game around him. And then I'd probably describe myself before this season, I would say I was a bit more of a playmaker, but I've started scoring a few more goals like in NHL 1. So I don't want to say I'm a sniper or a goal scorer. So I'll just say a bit of both.
Well, you've still got plenty of seasons ahead of you. Tell us about that Crosby camp then. So how did that come about, and how old were you when you went to that camp?
Well, that's testing me. I think I might have been about 7 or 8.
Oh, nice.
So just my parents woke me up in the morning, put me in the car and was like, oh, we're going somewhere. And then I was in the car on the way there. They were just like, you're going to Sidney Crosby's hockey camp. And I was like, no way, you got to be kidding me. Like. And then like my leg tape come undone on like one of the training sessions. And I went over to him. I was like, I'm going to go over to him. And I was like, oh, my leg tape come undone. He was like, oh, damn. And then he come over, done it for me. I was in the newspaper. Then there's a couple we had Nathan MacKinnon was there as well.
What?
Oh, Charlie's going to be jealous.
Yeah, Charlie loves MacKinnon.
I wore a GoPro and I was just like, I was about 8, so I don't even know what I said, but I just was like filming them all with my GoPro, getting in their faces.
Do you think that's been a massive reason for your development, then being able to play in these camps and be playing under some the best players in the world?
Yeah, so that camp, I wouldn't say it was a serious camp. It's obviously just seeing Sidney Crosby, and that season he won the cup as well. So we'd got a picture with the cup. Like I was the only one who didn't touch it. I don't know why, but didn't touch it. And then I've done a few like tournaments with like Czech teams and sort of stuff like that, and they were quite challenging. Just sort of puts into perspective how like your level from the other countries and sort of stuff like that.
Yeah. Have you got any plans to go play abroad, or are you just focusing right now? Your main aim is just to see how I can do in the National League and just go from there.
Yeah. So last year I had a few lined up, and then sort of started training with the Raiders like as a youngster, and obviously was too young to play. And then I was like, I'm training 5 nights a week here. Like, is it worth it going abroad, paying the money just to sort of be getting training when I can stay over here with like my family and whatever? So
yeah,
probably stay over here now and try to focus on getting as high as possible.
Yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Are you still training 5 nights a week then, are you?
I have the option on Monday, but I take it off. So yeah, 4 days a week.
4 days a week, and then you got the games on the Saturday, Sunday as well.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
That is so, but it's good though. It's good though because for your age as well, you're able to do these every single day.
Yeah.
Go on, Dan.
So in the NIHL, obviously, I don't know if sort of the road games are a bit longer because you have a bit more of a distance to cover. But do you find that the longer away games affect you more than like the closer ones, if you know what I mean? Does it really make that much of a difference?
I haven't played in too many sort of like away games this season with Raiders. I think I had Bristol, obviously Swindon, but I was already up in Swindon, so that wasn't too far of a travel. And then Bees the other day, so I haven't found them too difficult. Obviously, playing for however long I've played, you travel quite a bit to games, so you just get used to it in the end. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's that much of a difference, but it's definitely better playing at home in Romford.
Yeah. What's it like playing in
fortress?
Yeah, what's it like playing in front of the Romford fans? Because they can definitely. I've said so many times, Romford's quite an intimidating place to go to. They can get on the opposition's back.
Yeah, like it's so funny when like the other team calls a timeout and you just see everyone going down. Adults, kids with their horns. I find it quite funny, but yeah, it's a good atmosphere there. It's like when I score my goal, it's really loud. Like can't really ask for much more.
Yeah, and the Romford organisation itself, we don't really know too much about it. So how is it? Because they've got a lot of junior teams as well, and you've kind of come up the ranks and you've got to that national level. So how highly can you speak of that Romford kind of organisation?
I've sort of been with Sean, so when I went, Sean was the coach in juniors as well, so he does quite a lot in Romford. Sean, he's quite like involved, but I was with Sean for like I want to say like 4 years, and like we had players like TJ, the Pascalis, sort of stuff like that. Sam Cooper, the Osborne twins who play out in America. So it was the level of training was pretty much NIHL 1 standard. So yeah, it was pretty easy to get better. Yeah. And then obviously last season I started training with like Raiders 2, which is now the Buccaneers, with Jason Buckman, who probably is a very good coach. Well, he is a very good coach, like with the years, as everyone's seen, with TJ and Marco, and then me and Joe, and then all the others we have this season. And then still with Sean 3 nights a week with Raiders. So probably I'd say the best coach in the league, Sean, I reckon, for player development and just knowledge, loves the game.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. And you're still 16. What's your expectations going for the rest of the season? Is it to try and get that full-time contract with the Raiders next season?
Yeah, definitely. The National League is where I want to be at next season. Obviously, I'm still still got a bit of a way to go, but yeah, definitely what I want to be doing.
Is there any skills as well which you feel like you want to really develop? And you mentioned the physicality of the league and the speed of the league, and I guess the knowledge, because everyone's so quick to you when you've got the puck. Is there any other like bits which fans wouldn't kind of pick on, which you're really trying to work on?
It's a bit of an odd one, but I like to work on face-offs a lot. I think.
Oh yeah, nice.
Very, like valuable. I think you can go quite far just by winning face-offs. Like be put in different situations just by winning face-offs. So I like to work on face-offs quite a lot as well. So.
That's key to Crosby loves the face-off wins as well.
Yeah.
Really. Go on, Dan. Have you got any more questions?
I've you played for GB, right?
Yeah, I played for the 16s last season. Yeah.
How does it feel representing your country at such a young age? Is it you must feel proud to sort of do that?
Yeah, it's a pretty unbeatable feeling, to be honest. There's like when you score as well, it's sort of big selly as well, like you're in the National League. But yeah, it's an unbeatable feeling, to be honest. We got unlucky. We only lost one game the whole time we were out there, but come 8th or something in Riga.
Wow.
So it was good competitive level, but just unlucky, I think.
And is the aim to try and get into that under 18s and then slowly progress into under 20s?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely like my aim in the future, and obviously now. So yeah, definitely.
It seems like Raiders is a good place to be at as well. You talked about the development, and you're still only 6. Your birthday's in August, isn't it? That's what Elite Prospect says. So you've still got the rest of the season as well. Dan, have you got any more questions before we end on the one we always ask?
I'm trying to think of one. I did have one.
Who's your best mate at the Raiders, actually?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Let's play the Raiders. Obviously, you got Joe, who's quite young as well, but me and Jacob Ransom, we're quite good friends. Yeah. I buy him a pack of wine gums every game. So
really?
I reckon it's Jacob Ransom.
Yeah.
Jack Cooper's there as well, to be fair.
Yeah. And how important is it? Are you on a line with Jacob Ransom?
No, it's sort of me and Joe by ourselves sometimes, and then we'll have like Leish fill in or someone fill in with us. So yeah.
That's kind of what Aaron's doing with the Wildcats as well. Are you friends with Dylan?
I've not really spoke to him, but obviously I know him through hockey.
Yeah, he does that kind of thing as well. He has like Glennie next to him or something. So how nice is it to, you said you think the best player in the league. How nice is it to play next to him?
It's like this great feeling. You just like, you don't want to let him do it all, but you know he can do it all. So it's like this weekend, Jakey was ill, so me and Joe got put up with Milts and Leish, and
nice.
It was like different experience, a lot harder, and you have to work a lot harder. But yeah, it's been good.
Hey, thank you very much for coming on. Finally, do you have any message for the Raiders fans who I'm sure are loving you right now, getting in that first team?
Probably just keep supporting and stick with us, I guess, and the results will come.
Yeah. Nice one. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the season. We're looking forward to seeing you come back to Swindon. And we'll definitely be looking out for those snipes, which you scored the other day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, a team which it has been consistent with is the Wildcats. They have been absolutely smashing in the goals at home. An 18-goal weekend. The first game, obviously, against the Bees, 9-4. I think that was quite comfortable in the end. We let a couple scrappy goals in. Nelly said we shouldn't have really made those mistakes. And then on the Sunday, we looked like we were cruising, 4-1 up. And then Peterborough slowly got back in the game. Slava did what he always does, tactically, got back into the game. They went 5-4 ahead. And then penalty trouble, we come back into it and we end up winning the game 9-5. Our team, all three lines, it looks like a Swindon team which we haven't seen for a long time, where all three lines are just clicking and scoring goals, isn't it, Charlie? It's the most fun I've had watching Swindon, I think.
Yeah, well, you look at the lines and you see why they're clicking. Not just them players who, the player for me who needed to step up this year, was his big year to break out, was Reed Sayers. And he's broken into that top 9. And even Bully's putting in the best performances I've seen from him in the last 2 years. Probably he's picking up the points every game. And so for Swindon, it's not just being the big players being big, which they have been. It's also having players like Reed getting the points in, Bully getting the points in when Cowdy's out as well. And it makes a huge difference. And obviously, Glennie Billen, just I mentioned it when we signed him, or how big it was. And I said how many points I think he'll get to you, I remember. And I said I expect him to match his points at Peterborough
last season, and
he's finally, well, not finally, but he's settled into the team now. You can see he's fitted into Swindon's system. Obviously going to take some time coming from Slava's system. And he is just a menace in front of the goalie. He's now a menace on our power play since Cowley's obviously come out from injury. He's fitted in and maybe even improved it.
Yeah, he's so good in front of that net.
And he is just, and I say it how it is, he is a top 3 British centre in this league, if not the best. His two-way game is phenomenal. His offensive game is phenomenal. And any team in the league, he'd walk onto their top 6. There's no doubt in my mind about it. any coach would have him. He'd be on their first PK unit, and he is one of the best two-way centers in this league.
He's very, very underrated. And the biggest compliment I can give him, and people won't expect this, you can put him on any line, any three lines, and he'd raise that team up. The players around him would just be better. It's the little stuff, just behind the goal, the little flick passes behind him without even having to look. He knows where they're going to be in the slot. Jones on the power play. Literally, Jones has stood there because he knows that Billing's got the IQ to just flick it back, and the defenders don't even see it coming either, and it's a goal. And he got 6 assists this weekend, 6 assists, and then added 2 goals against his former team as well. Now, Lebuele obviously got 5 goals this weekend. He got a hat-trick on Saturday, and I felt a bit bad because he was originally going to get our player of the week because of that hat-trick, and he'd got another 2 in the first period. But then Glenn, he just I don't think we would have won that game without Glennie on Sunday, Charlie. What do you think?
No, he's just, I don't know. You don't notice him, but you notice him so much.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like, he's one of them players who will be. You think you haven't noticed him, and then you look at the stats, and you're like, oh wait, he got the 3 assists. He bagged two-way game the whole game, and he's just so crucial.
Yeah.
And going on to Gale, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't wind up Gale. Luke Ferrara wound up Gale because he hooked him, and then I think in the next 10 minutes, Gale bagged
2 goals. Yeah,
and,
inside like a minute as well.
He was fired up, and I'll tell you what. I think he's settled now. I think he's happy. I think he's enjoying it, and same. I think with Gale and Billing, it's taken them this 3 months of obviously bonding with the team, getting to know some of the boys. Obviously getting used to Swindon's play style, and you're starting to see their points just go, but you're not seeing Malas and Nell's points go down.
No.
So we are scoring stacks of goals at the moment. 18 goals in 2 games is a joke, and that's because, like I said, Malas and Nell's points are still at the elite level, and same with Chris Jones. He's been very underrated this year. And then Billing and Gale and Bede and all of them are just pushing their game up, and it just. It causes mayhem at home.
You can see why Billing was Nelly's top target, and has been for the past few seasons. And I'm just so glad he's at Swindon. And hopefully he'll come up trumps in those big games we've got. And hopefully he'll be the difference in getting that playoff spot and just the 3 lines clicking. So, yeah, big. But we'll move on to the big talk, which was Leeds dropping points. They finally dropped a point to Solway. Solway beating them on penalty shots, and Solway, credit to them, they've been fantastic, especially at home. They got the victory on penalty shots. Alderson with a naughty little penalty shot. I don't know if you've seen it, Charlie, but bang, 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 backhand, top corner, straight past Gospel. And I think that's one thing which we really want players to do on penalty shots. They don't lift it enough, do they? They don't lift it into that top corner, but he did it. However, the weekend has ended and Leeds have still gained a point on Milton Keynes because Milton Keynes got defeated by Hull. And as I said to Dan when we talked about it, they just seem to be MK's bogey team, don't they?
Yeah, MK can't do it in some away rings. It is as simple as that. And with the team they have on paper, they'll be wanting to win games like this. And I'd love to know their coach's point of view on games like this. And the pressure is obviously on for them to win a trophy. Everyone knows the expectation, but fair play to Hull.
Fair play to
everyone will talk about Milton Keynes, and yes, Milton Keynes' team on paper, yes, they should win. But Hull love a game against Milton Keynes, and it probably is because Bobby Chamberlain used to play there, and he flipping loved it against Milton Keynes. But credit to Hull. I could talk about Milton Keynes, but I want to talk about Hull because Hull have been going for a little rough patch. They weren't quite on it. He got beat quite fair and square by Swindon, and they didn't like that, and fairly so. And I could see Barmer on Twitter saying we're trying, Hull fans, we want to get it fixed, and then getting a big 4-point weekend against Raiders away.
It beat Raiders, that's not easy
and
at all.
Getting MK at home and beating them by what it looked like pretty fair and square.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to say was their third and fourth liners and their third defenseman, etc., are getting points. Yeah. They got depth scoring past MK, and that's what won them the game by the looks of it. So always crucial. So shout out to Hull. And for Milton Keynes, the league's not over.
No,
they can still win that league. Leeds have shown they can drop points. They got 2 games left against Leeds. Leeds have got many difficult games against Swindon coming up. I think we've still got them twice at home. Like,
Yeah.
no one wants to come to
We've
Swindon
still
right
got them
now.
4 times.
They've still got to play Peterborough. They've still got to play Hull. They've still got to play Solway again. Like, there is some tough games for Leeds. And for MK, I think they'll bounce back from this. They're a 6th team. And yeah, and that top line is still tearing it up. So
yeah, credit to Hull. And that was something we questioned going into the season, is they've got all these really dominant players like Chamberlain. They brought in Bonner as well, Svek re-signing and getting in Bartholomew. And we thought maybe the depth of the scoring might be a bit of an issue because a lot of them were youngsters who haven't played in the league before. But this weekend they came up against arguably one of the best teams, the second best team in the league. So fair play to Hull. Back to Solway, 4-point weekend for them. Yeah, they made the comeback against Bristol, and it felt like Bristol were the victim of their own downfall, really, weren't they, on that Saturday night? They had the 6-5 lead, and then, Solway just got back into it like they always have done.
Yeah, I got 2 things. Obviously, there was a silly penalty given away, I think, by Harewood in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what the scenario is like, but giving away penalties in the late of the game against a team like Solway is always difficult. And a player I probably owe an apology to is Arsenal, who's got the equaliser, who took it to OT. And when I've watched him, I've not been fully impressed, but his stats and his plaudits from fans are doing the talking. And he is a tidy import defenseman who is been crucial to Sol this year, and I think he's definitely settled in now, and he's tearing it up at the moment.
I can't speak on him defensively because we just haven't really watched him apart from the games against Swindon. But offensively, stats wise, he's getting countless assists. I think he's up to 5 goals now. He's getting some crucial goals as well. So fair play to Arsenal. He's really picking it up and showing why he's one of the top imports, top defensemen in the league. And we'll just have to see how high Solway can get. Can they get up to 6th place? Can they get above Telford? That'll be their next aim, because I think they're in 7th now. So they've overtaken the Raiders. So yeah, fair play to the Solway Sharks. And Bristol, I know they lost on Saturday. They only lost 7-5 to Leeds on Sunday. I know Leeds didn't have Gospel in net. But still, they got 5 goals past Leeds. I don't know. I don't know what it is with Bristol. I just think, I don't know, Charlie. I really don't know why they can't just grind those wins out and get them on the board.
They're just not there at the moment. I think they lack a bit of bits in areas. But the one thing I needed to ask, if anyone's got that Pal versus Howlett fight,
oh yeah,
can you please send that to me? Because I really, 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 really want to see that, because Pal is about 6'4". Howlett's a shorter, like 5'10".
Yeah.
I just want to see that fight. I've been looking for it everywhere and I can't, so I'm going to use the podcast to try and find it.
Yeah. When we heard that, we were like, really? Out of everyone, it's Matt Howlett to fight. I'm not saying Matt Howlett shouldn't give him a fight, but the height difference and how big they are, I wouldn't expect Pal to happen. Yeah, I want to see how it went. The other results, Lightning did beat Telford on the Saturday, but Telford then responded, and we'll go on to Sheffield in a sec, with a 7-0 win, a shutout, another one for Day. I think that's his 2nd or 3rd shutout this season, so fair play to Brad Day. Sheffield, though, I think they had Brammer back this week. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, they just... it's just frustrating for him, isn't it? And they couldn't quite get the result against Phantoms. They lost 7-1. So yeah, it's a struggle for Sheffield. I think they're missing a few players as well, aren't they?
It's not a good period of time for Sheffield at the moment. They are getting beat quite fair and square every game. And for their players, it's not going to be the most fun to play. It'll be the most enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for them boys. So I hope them boys can keep going and can keep rolling, and I hope their result can come soon, because you don't want them to get into this spiral. And all the issues off the ice, if they are still there, I hope they get resolved as quick as they can, really, because no one wants to see a team losing every game and not really showing too much competition.
But you and Dan were saying your prediction was you think they'll be much better next season and they'll be able to sign, or you think the owner will sign a lot of players and improve the squad a lot. Is that your prediction for next season?
Well, for me, with Sheffield, is the Steelers owner would not have taken over the Sheffield Steel Dogs without a plan. But from what I know, he took over with about 3 weeks to go. So he kept the team he's got, and I have a feeling you'll see at Sheffield next year some of the top British prospects as a basically feeder club for the Steelers, and we'll see if that comes into place.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling the Steelers owner will have a plan, because it would be very silly for him not to and take over the club. I have a feeling that next year you could see a lot of talent coming to the Steelers as potentially Steel Dogs to help the Steelers. It will be a feeder.
Yeah. 100%. The final result was the Bees bouncing back from their loss against Wildcats to beat the Raiders 5-3, and Vitali getting a 5-point night, I think, or 4-point night. He came up tops, didn't he, on Sunday?
He's a weird player, Vitali, because whenever we play him, he never stands out to me, but he always gets a goal past Swindon.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Jack, I was like, I think he needs to step his game up for the Bees. You need your import getting more points. And Jack was like, yeah, I'd quite rate him. And then he goes and bags a 4-point night. So I was like, fair play, Vitali. Like, you've shut me up. So yeah, it was a big win for Bees and a huge win for Brett Shepherd. Didn't have the greatest games.
Yeah, he started both, didn't he?
But he won the game the next night. And to be honest, I don't think they'll care about the Swindon result, because they won the game they needed to win. And for Bees, big momentum win for them. And they need to keep that. It sounded like they had more of a balanced scoring sheet. They were scoring from 2 or 3 lines, and they need to keep that going. They need to keep scoring from more than just Ballas and Goodbye.
But it shows their power players lethal. I think they scored a couple power play goals.
They got good power play, and the power plays were key this weekend for most teams, to be fair.
Yeah, a lot of power play goals, and there's a few short-handed goals as well. There's a lot of short-handed goals this season. Perhaps teams are going overly offensively on the power play, and it's just leaving holes in the back. Before we wrap it all up, looking at the league table, this means that the Leeds Knights have a 3-point lead on the Lightning with a game in hand. So they could possibly go 5 points clear of the Lightning. Obviously, they do play each other twice, and there's plenty of more games to play. The Wildcats are on 44 points now. We've got a 5-point gap on Peterborough, and I think we've got a game on hand them as well. So Wildcats are really solidifying that 3rd place, aren't they, Charlie? And we're only 6 points behind MK with a game in hand. So we could actually be 4 points off Milton Keynes. So could you see Swindon possibly, because we still play Milton Keynes, I think, twice or 3 times. Could you see us possibly getting up to 2nd? I don't know. Maybe it's a big ask.
It's just about keep rolling. I think Milton Keynes aren't going to really lose many games. But for Swindon, this is just about building momentum. Seeing what we can do in the Cup, obviously, on Friday. Seeing if we can challenge that Milton Keynes team, we can. Seeing what we can do, hopefully trying to qualify through that. And just rolling, making our home place a rink, a fortress, and being grateful for us having a season, because we didn't know what was going to happen at the start of the year. And the fact that we're 6 points off 2nd with a game in hand, you can't be prouder of the boys who've kept going, keep pushing, and we've kept the whole squad together.
Yeah, 100%. The Seahawks, they're only 2 points off the Phantoms with their 4-point weekend. And then the Tigers have kind of solidified that 6th spot for now with 32 points, with the Sharks on 29, the Raiders on 27, and the Bees on 26. So the Bees are in 9th, and they're just 1 point off the Raiders with 27. And then you've got a bit down, you've got the Pitbulls on 18. I think they've got a couple games in hand, and the Steel Dogs are on 22. So I don't want a big gap to start appearing. I do love the league, obviously, being competitive, and hopefully Steel Dogs and Bristol can kind of pick up a few wins here and there. But yeah, we'll have to see, won't we, Charlie? There's still plenty of games to play, isn't there?
Yeah, Pitbulls have got to try keep that conceding down.
Yeah.
Not concede quite as many goals. And for Sheffield, it's just trying to get the boys back together, get that proper Sheffield kind of grind together. And not easy for both teams, but they'll keep pushing.
Yeah, we won't go through all the fixtures for next week, but the last bit I wanted to talk about was that semi-final on Friday. A big game. The last time the Lightning came to the Wildcats rink, We did beat them, I thought, quite comfortably. I think we shut them down well. I think Nelly matched the lines up really well, and even their top line we managed to shut down. It was just the power play which looked quite deadly for them. So how do you see the game going on Friday? Are you confident we can win the game and maybe build up a bit of a lead going into the second leg?
I'm confident we can win. We're playing well at home at the moment. We took Milton Keynes out last game. It's a unique situation where Milton Keynes aren't going to be coming into the game going, we need to win this.
Yeah.
They know they're bringing it back to their place. They know they're the best team in the league at home. So they will want to go back to their place, evened up, maybe 1 goal up, maybe 1 goal down.
Yeah.
Swindon, it's about non-stop going after them.
Keep going like we did.
We make their lives rubbish. We score with our third line. We put Malas and Nal out there and say, let's get another one. But it's going to be a tough game. MK are going to come with a different strategy. It didn't work last time what they came with, so they can kind of bring something new. They're going to be pumped up. They're not going to be happy about the fact they've just lost, and it puts them in a tougher spot to win the league. Yeah. So they will want to win this trophy. They'll want to win the first trophy. So for them, they're going to come after it. For us, we've got a good home record at the moment. So I can't really predict it, but I think Swindon will win by a goal.
Oh, bold prediction. I'm going to go, if we can play like we have been, that dominant goal-scoring force, I'm going to go with a Swindon win as well. I'm not sure by how many. I'm just going to say Swindon win going into the second leg, which is in just under 4 weeks' time. So we've got a whole 4 weeks to wait if we do win that game to see if we can close out in the second leg. But it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a huge battle. Let us know in the comments. What do you reckon the scores are going to be? Get your predictions in. But as you said, it will be the game after Milton Keynes have just lost. So they're going to be hungry to try and turn things around. I'm not sure which players they're going to have out, which players will be back. Obviously they got to drop a couple because they got too many players in the squad. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thank you, Brynley, for hopping on. Thank you, Dan, for hopping on. Hopefully we'll have all of us three on at the same time next week, so it'll be a bit easier. But yeah, we'll try and get another player on the podcast. We appreciate you listening. And yeah, come on the Cats. We'll see you next weekend or next week.
Bye.